So July might not have the same accolades as June in terms of game release, but don't fret, because there's still some interesting games coming out on July to help you empty your pockets in seconds. Let's get into it. Starting with a bang, coming from Nintendo we have Pikmin 4. This upcoming real-time strategy game has been announced back in 2015 by producer Shigeru Miyamoto that said that the game is very close to completion. Will finally comes out next month on the Nintendo Switch on July 21st. It is the fourth main installment on the Pikmin series, and this game is highly anticipated by fans since the previous game, Pikmin 3, is released back in 2013. Interestingly, Pikmin 4 is developed using Unreal Engine, which is a weird thing for Nintendo since usually they use their in-game engines. In Pikmin 4, you're playing as a rescue team attempting to rescue the game's previous main protagonist, Captain Olimar, because Captain Olimar's ship has been crash-landed on a mysterious planet. And while attempting to rescue him, the rescue ship is also crash-landed on the same planet. So it's up to us to rescue Captain Olimar and the rescue team while finding a way back home with the help of mysterious creature Pikmin. There's also going to be a myriad of new features available in Pikmin 4. For starters, we could customize our characters in Pikmin 4, not available previously in other Pikmin main series. There's also going to be a new character that will be available to help us in exploring this planet. A cute dog called Ochi, and two new types of Pikmin. The first one is Ice Pikmin, a type of Pikmin that could freeze the water to help you in exploration. The second one is Glow Pikmin, a type of Pikmin that will help us to ward some enemies at night. With the addition of Glow Pikmin, Pikmin 4 will also add a night mode exploration that will surely add to the experience. For those of you who never experienced the Pikmin series before, I highly recommend this game for your starting point because the visual is obviously gorgeous and might get you hooked into the Pikmin series. So once again, I'm reminding you that Pikmin 4 will be released on the Nintendo Switch on July 21st. So coming up, the next game that is about to come out in July is Remnant 2, an upcoming third-person shooter action role-playing game developed by Gunfire Game that is coming out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. This is a sequel to Remnant from the Ashes, released back in 2019. And Remnant series is basically what you get when you combine a third-person shooter games with Dark Souls, and the combination is stellar. In Remnant 2, there will also be an archetypes that is basically like a class system. You could choose one and eventually two archetypes on Remnant 2. You could choose archetypes from Challenger, Handler, Gunslinger, and Medic. The Challenger is a tank-type archetype that could equip much more heavier armor and be the backbone of every fight to become an unstoppable wall. And the Handler is a jack-of-all-trades archetypes that bring their companion, a dog, to a fight. Their skill revolves around supporting another party member while also controlling their companion to attack enemies or supporting allies. The next archetype is the Gunslinger, an archetype that focuses only on damage. They use all the guns available in their arsenal to unleash more damage by increasing their fire rate, reload speed, and ammo capacity to quickly dispose of enemies. And lastly, we got the Medic. The Medic is the healer of the team. They provide healing to the party. They could also revive teammates in a faster manner than the other. With the Medic on your team, you never have to worry about dying in battle. If you're interested in checking out Remnant 2 early, you could purchase the Ultimate Edition of Remnant 2, which will grant you an early access on July 22nd, 3 days before the game is released. Moving on from Remnant 2, we got Exoprimal that is set to come out on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series on July the 14th. It's a third-person shooter game developed and published by Capcom, and the setting is about us player in a robot trying to stop a dinosaur outbreak. Yeah, you heard it right. In Exoprimal, you could control these exosuits to fight off all these dinosaur hordes that came out from the portal. There's 10 exosuits available for players to choose. Each has its own job and role to fulfill. Assault is a DPS exosuits, focused on dealing damage. Tanks is self-explanatory. Their job is to protect teammates and tank damage, while support main utility is providing sights and healing their allies. There's also going to be a PvP and PvE modes available, and in PvP, you're going to compete against each others in your exosuits, and PvE pits you against the dinosaur. Exoprimal might shape into an interesting third-person shooter game, and if you're interested in Exoprimal, the game will be available soon on July 14 on many platforms. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is also coming to PC on July 26th. Previously released on PlayStation 5 on 2021, Rift Apart is finally coming to PC on 2023. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is developed by Insomnia Games and published by Sony. It is the 9th main installment in the Ratchet & Clank series and a sequel to Ratchet & Clank Into the Nexus. But Rift Apart is a pretty standalone game in terms of stories, so if by any chance Rift Apart is your first game in the series, you're good to go. They really went on and really tried to push this game performance with performance-enhancing technologies such as unlocked frame rates, ray trace reflection, and ray trace shadows. Anyway, if you have that powerful PC and interested on Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, check it out, coming out on July 26 on PC. Next up on our list is the Expanse, a Telltale series, coming out on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series on July 27th. It is an episodic graphic adventure game that is co-developed by Telltale Games and Jack 9 that are a prequel of The Expanse, a sci-fi television series that is based on the novel of the same name. This is one of the games where your choices determine what happened next to the game, and it is developed by Telltale Games, which is kind of a huge deal since the company haven't come out with the games for a while. It will come in an episodic format, with the new episode will be coming out every 2 weeks, which is what Telltale Games is aiming for. There's also going to be a few accessibility available on the game. You can turn on advanced warning for sudden brake lights, loud noises, and intense action moments, and can toggle waypoints to always be displayed. You can choose to have an extra confirmation for major plot choices and can lengthen or completely turn off the action event timer. Personally, this is one of the games that I will definitely be looking out for on my radar. That being said, if you want to play the Expanse, a Telltale series, don't forget that the game will come out on July 27th. Moving on, we got Jagged Alliance 3 coming out on PC on July 14th. It is a tactical-based role-playing game, and this game is honestly a surprise because, for comparison, Jagged Alliance 2 came out in 1999. Yeah, it's been a while since we got a Jagged Alliance game. Jagged Alliance 3 was first announced back in 2004 and has since through some ups and downs regarding its development. But thankfully, in 2023, nearly 2 decades later, the games could finally be released. In Jagged Alliance 3, you could select from a huge cast of mercenaries, all with their own unique personality, quirks, and backstories. You could go out and explore Grantian as you meet new people, earn money, grow your team, and ultimately make your own decision that will decide the country's fate. If you're interested in Jagged Alliance 3, definitely go check it out on PC on July 14th. And last on our most recommended games on July is Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals. It is an upcoming supernatural mystery/horror graphic adventure game coming out on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5 and 4, Android, PC, and iOS on July 12th. It is developed by Night School Studio and published by Netflix Games. I played the first Oxenfree and honestly, it was a really good and unique game. On Oxenfree 2, you're playing as Riley Poverly, and it is set 5 years after the first Oxenfree. It is said to be a coming-of-age story with supernatural elements. The graphics in this game is really unique and pleasing to the eyes. The story of the first Oxenfree is also really good, and I could say surely that Oxenfree 2 will also be good. If you like some supernatural adventure games that puts its emphasis on the stories and dialogue, be sure to check out Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals on July 12th. And those are some of our recommended games on July, but there's also some games that might not be in our most recommended list but might be your type of games. First up is Disney Illusion Island, coming out on the Nintendo Switch on July 28th. In this game, you play as Mickey's and friends to help the illusion world from immediate dangers as a dark force tries to bring harm and destruction. It is a platformer game that could be played in single player or multiplayer up to 4 people. Next is Immortals of Aveum. Immortals of Aveum is an upcoming first-person shooter game developed by Ascendant Studio and published by Electronic Arts. The game is set to be released for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series first on July 20th, but pushed back into August 22nd. Even though it's not part of July lineup, I think since it had a July release date before, it counts. The Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie got released back in Japan in August 2020 and now finally got its English localization release in July 7. The game features a new crossroads system where players can switch between 3 different story arcs, with each focusing on a different protagonist. The leaders of Crossbill Special Support Section, Lloyd Bennings, the instructor of Class 7, Ryan Schwarzer, and the masked character, C. This game also has over than 50 playable characters. Side note that you might need to play other Trails games such as Trails of Cold Steel and Trails of Azure and Trails of Zero. So if you're interested in the story, you got a lot of homework ahead of you. Gylt is a survivor horror video game developed and published by Tequila Works. It was released on November 19, 2019 for Google Stadia. And being one of Google Stadia exclusive, Gylt is temporarily unavailable because of Google Stadia shutdown on 2023. In Gylt, you play as Sally, a young girl who is trying to find her missing cousin Emily, and after school bullies cause her to crash her bike, which caused her to enter a nightmare world with dark parallels to her bullying. You could now experience Gylt on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox Series on July 6th. Testament: The Order of High Human is a first-person single-player action-adventure game with bits of RPG and Metroidvania elements set in a post-apocalyptic fantasy world. And in here, you're going to use swords, bows, and spells with a unique element in it to conquer your enemies. Testament: The Order of High Human will come out on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox Series on July 13. And that's all the release that we could give it to you today. I personally will play Oxenfree 2 on day 1, but what about you guys? What's the game that you're waiting for? Comments down below.